Welcome to another edition of the Culture Show. This is your host, Emmanuel Kulu, and today we're going to be discussing 7 rules to ignore or whitewash Black history. Number 1, ignore and refuse to publish true Black literature. That is the number 1 reason why Black authors have to be active in the world today with telling the African truth. If you look at most movies that are out about African history, they are not written by African historians. They are not written by African storytellers. They are written by someone other than Africans. In fact, they are mostly written by European scholars. The number 2 reason would be create religious pagan systems and scientific doctrines based off of white supremacy to justify white superiority and Black inferiority to infuse slavery. That is the second thing. The third reason would be flood the world with misinformation of Africa. As we turn on the internet, just look up the term Africa's the state of Africa. You're going to see a bunch of children with flies flying around their heads. You're going to see a bunch of children with diseases, malaria, poverty, civil unrest. These are the things that are not going to make you want to go to Africa. And when it comes to ancient African history, we can talk about Egypt. As we always discuss ancient Egypt, what do we see when we turn on an ancient Egyptian movie? Do we see African people, or do we see something other than Africans? I'll let you be the judge of that. Number 4, renaming people, places based off of European perspective. Replace African names with either European or Arabic names. This is very key. You've seen this done in many different translations of the scriptures, and this hides the true Black identity. Change the criteria for defining race. Now, when defining race according to the Eurocentric belief defines the white race is the top race, the race that brought civilization to the world. They're continuing to promote and spread around the world that Blackness is evil and whiteness is associated with holy. Sound familiar? Then the last thing is revise what has been told about African history. You see, Africans were living their history and their traditions were passed down. So for example, let's take Africans and the discovery of America. Why is there not enough evidence to prove Africans in the discovery of America? Well, if you look deep into how the Native Americans were, most of them, almost 70% of Native American culture was destroyed when the Europeans came to this country, whether it's disease or murder, or they were converted to some sort of slavery. And then the Africans who were already here, they resulted with the same thing. So there's very few people to tell the stories of the actual true history, because the history was either burned, destroyed, or annihilated through some sort of military force that the Europeans brought. And just to be honest, it just told a better story for the people who wrote these books, a book of colonization, a story of colonization, instead of a story of peaceful African trade between Africans and Native Americans, which existed before Columbus did. If you also look at how history was revised based off of the history books starting in the 14th century, you ask what's so significant to the 14th century? Well, the 14th century, 1492 was the year that Christopher Columbus was sent out with other European missionaries with the idea to find the source of the gold that was in India and in Africa. Mansa Musa was the richest man the world had ever seen, and he sent to these Portuguese soil explorers sent out to see where is the source of Mansa Musa's gold. Hence what we see today, what is happening in the Congo with the diamond mining. These are things that are all the result of Mansa Musa's pilgrimage to Mecca, giving away billions of dollars in gold. Attribute Black contribution to outside influences or other white influences. So who are the other white influences? Well, when you look into the census program, there are white people that we know as white people are not just listed as Caucasians. Arabs are considered to be Caucasians. In fact, even some Indians are considered to be Caucasians. In fact, even North Africans are considered to be Caucasians, those who are currently in Egypt to this very day. And the last thing is discredit all classic historians such as Sheikh Anta Diop, such as Ivan Van Sertima, such as Dr. Ben. There have been many Black scholars that have spoken about the African truth, and they have been labeled Afrocentric. And what Afrocentric is, basically, it's been a term that's been demonized for those who are extreme and that they promote extreme Africanism, or what they call Pan-Africanism. But what is Pan-Africanism? Is that Africa is the origin. In fact, Pan-African is science, because science teaches that Lucy was the first, and who was from Uganda or Eritrea area. She was supposed to be the first human remains that was found. So what does that tell you? That science is Pan-African. So there you have it. Those are the 7 things that are used to discredit and whitewash Black history. Shout out to the entire IBP team. We came together and we did a book review, guys. We did a book review on chapter 2, The Festival of Scandal, on IBP Media, that will be released on Rituja Ramtiki's show, the International Book Club with Rituja. So y'all be looking out for that. Make sure y'all subscribe to IBP Media.